Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I'd like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. Today we have a special guest, Mr. LP. Mr. LP is a hip hop musician, podcaster, journalist, and the founder of the Mr. Peterson's Neighborhood, the MPN Network. He also is a fellow member of the Content Creators of Color Collective. He will join me today in a critical review and discussion of this provocative documentary called Our Father. Welcome to the show, Al.
Hey, what's happening? What's happening?
Hey.
You hear the audience?
I do. I received that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have you back on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
For sure. And so, we had an opportunity to check out this documentary and found it interesting, and so thought a conversation and discussion would be appropriate to share on the platform. There were some pieces that we wanted to analyze to share, so we will get into that. So before we get into the summary of the film, I want to get your initial reaction after viewing the entire film and the theories about the logic of Dr. Klein and so on. What is your initial reaction of the film?
It was wild.
Mhm.
Completely wild. Everything was just completely like wild. Wild and wow. Outside of any theories or whatever, I don't care what. It was just wild. Like that's the only word that I really, really have for it. It
was very shocking. Like it's kind of hard to, for me, I felt like it was hard to believe that this really went on and this person wasn't taken away in custody after all of this person after person. It was very shocking.
Yeah, I was before I really got into the theories and all this stuff. Like I was just thinking, like, wow, like this really is going on. Like I'm like, does this really exist? Like this, and this was happening in like these people were in their 40s and 50s. So this was going on in like the 60s, 70s. Like that's wild. It's just wild that something like this was transpiring.
But I guess the whole trusting nature of he wouldn't do something like that, and just believing everything that he laid in front of them. Oh, we're doing this, and just the trusting. I think people nowadays are more, doubtful, and they want to see proof. They want to see a copy of this and that, especially at the doctor's office. They wouldn't just take a physician's word on something without seeing evidence. People are more doubtful today, I think.
Right.
So
no, I mean, yeah.
Because the community too.
Right. It was all those factors do play a role. Nobody wasn't really thinking about those type of things. When I say that, meaning like documentations, backlogs, and all that stuff. Nobody wasn't thinking of like how we think about it now. Like even back in like let's just say 20 years from now, 20 years ago, like in the 2000s, even when the internet and AI and all that stuff was present, it wasn't a common thing to say, oh well, let me see if that person lying or if it's wrong. Let me go check the documents or just do a backlog. None of that exists.
Yeah.
None of that exists. So it was like it was very easy for things to kind of go up under the radar. Real quick before we get into it. So I'm starting my master's degree in August, and the school that I'm going to, they asked me for my immunization records, right? So I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm 43, so I graduated in '97. So I called my school to get my records or whatnot, and of course my records was like it was like microfilmed. So they had to like dig for it. So I
Okay.
just want to set that presence for people
Yeah.
in this situation. Like it took some days for them to come back and be like, okay, here's my documents. And I'm looking at the documents and it's like I see my mom's handwriting. It was just bugged out, man. It was just crazy how they had my
Yeah.
shot records from like 1984. It's just crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that to say, I mean, hopefully that adds to the conversation of what we go through about this, because a lot of these things, if a lot of things was in place, it would kind of, it wouldn't be. I think he would have been stopped by now. He would have been stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have been stopped at like number number 10 or something.
Okay. I don't know. He was kind of going for the gusto with it, so
Nah, I think whatever word exceeds gusto, use that.
but obviously he was keeping track because it seems like people who do these types of things, they keep score. They're keeping score, and so I feel like he was doing that and he kind of course, fed them. Oh, there's no more than 50. There's no more than and it was not true each time. But I think he personally knew the actual number. He probably had it written down in a book.
Wow.
He's people like that are kind of meticulous in a way or something like that. Meticulous.
That's so bugged out to me. Like it's
It
so.
is. It is. So, okay. So the summary of what occurs in this film is it follows the former Indianapolis-based fertility doctor, who is Donald Klein, who, in a case of fertility fraud, he used his own sperm specimen to impregnate dozens of unsuspecting patients. And as a result, he is the biological father to nearly 100 offspring. We actually don't get a true count, but I went fishing around online and the number is almost to 100 at this point. So that's just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Just totally bizarre. So it kind of begins with one of the uh, children, if you will, starting this investigation, Jacoba Ballard. And so, let's see. She decides to do a DNA test, a 23andMe. We hear a lot of people doing these types of DNA tests. Those kind of just freak me out in general. Like, what is your thoughts of like those types of tests anyway? But I guess,
I mean, if people want to know, they want to know. I mean, I don't have no problem with it. I never thought about doing it because, I don't know. I just, I mean, I don't know. I guess I just go off what I taught. My mom, my dad had 2 kids, and go from there. But I'm in a family where my granddad had an extra kid or 2, and they popped up out of the blue. So
okay.
23andMe probably need to be hit up a little bit harder. I don't know.
See? So she had curiosity if she had any half siblings. And knowing, and I guess because she knew that she was conceived by a sperm donor, that is what sparked her interest for that. And so she was matched with 7 half siblings, instantly raising a red flag, to the use of the same donor on more than 3 occasions. So that's kind of like what got everything started. And she really conducted a thorough investigation. She reached out to a reporter. I mean, what do you think about the investigation that Jacoba did?
I mean, in this day and age, like I said before, I mean the information is there. So I mean,
it is right.
Yeah,
it comes up later that people do these types of things because to avoid, you could potentially be dating someone that is kin to you.
Right.
So
right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even with that, we've seen too many times these systems, they don't move quick enough. You know what I'm saying? Or they be like, or they pass it off. A lot of people just be passing a lot of things off. Like, it's unfortunate that the media talks all this talk, and then it's like, wow, you see it on media and be like, that's a big issue. That need to be taken care of. But then like the police department or the government, they just move kind of slow. And so people just take matters in their own hands. And it was safe to safe to do it, in a situation like this.
Right. So we have all these women going to him uh, for fertility and thinking that either their spouse was the donor or that some other person is the donor, when all the while he is supplying his own specimen in every single case.
Mm-hmm.
And then in his logic, because you hear his point of view in this movie, he says that he's helping these women. What do you think about that logic that he was helping them? Does this come across as genuine?
No.
It seems kind of selfish, right? Like,
that's very selfish. I mean, but at this point of where we're at right now, it's definitely a selfish manner. Like,
yeah,
just somebody watching the show, you're immediately going to be like, he's very selfish way he's doing. And then as we go further into it, other stuff pop up, but it's definitely selfish. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like self-serving too, because he, the way, not to be graphic, the way that he provided this specimen, it had to be at the time that the patient was there. So they're literally in the next room, and he goes into the next room, and he has to, it has to be a certain temperature, it has to be warm. So he, basically, he creates a specimen right there while the patient is in the other room. And so that's pretty, so his mind he has to take himself to a certain place in his mind to be able to perform and to produce the specimen, if you will, without being too gray in that. Just seems bizarre to do that during a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, I mean, he was very intentional with it now. Let's make that clear. I mean, he definitely was very intentional with his method. Because when he was doing it, like, I mean, it was just like I noticed that it was like a pattern that he did. I think and part of the documentary, it was like a pattern. Mm-hmm. So it's like when one person walked in, they showed him walking into the office, sitting down. And then the next person talked, they showed him going into the same office, sitting down. You know what I'm saying? It was like this, like, intentional movement that the documentary was displaying. So intentional is all that does.
It was intentional. It is.
But in that particular part of the documentary, it looks like it's just selfish. Like, I know for me, I was like, I didn't think deeply about why or what his intention was. It just seemed like he just wanted to just pregnate, like he was just having fun with it. You know what I'm saying? It just
right, but it's like he didn't, even though one woman felt, expressed feeling violated, and they kind of compared it to rape, but he didn't actually rape them because he was not charged with that, and he didn't hold them down or what have you like that. They were willing, I don't want to say willing participant, because it was fraud. It was fraud. It's fraud because they're under the circumstances that I'm going to be injected with this, and then he kind of does a slight change of hand, and that's not, fair. That's not ethical to do that in a medical practice.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeesh.
It's but okay, so going back to that whole thought of being the woman feeling violated, do you feel that that's a violation? Is it like rape?
But that's okay. So this is when I started thinking a little bit deeper into the movie. So listeners, when I'm talking, I'm gonna be talking as if I'm watching a movie, and I'm telling you how I fall into it. So this is the part where I was like, it's definitely rape, but then I was like, but then I started thinking like logically, and I was just like, well, they couldn't consider it rape because of these type of factors. It's not, and so it was it was confusing. It was just like, it's definitely rape, but at the same time too, like in different situations or whatever, it wouldn't be rape, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate because it's this is when it gets
Right,
real.
because I'm thinking power, I'm thinking consent when I think
Absolutely,
of matters of rape.
absolutely.
People, how many times I've watched Law and Order SVU, Special Victims. It's not about sex, it's about power. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think he did have a kind of a power trip thing going on. So that kind of makes you think of that kind of mindset.
Well, I think so. The reason why I wouldn't, the reason why I think a thought came up that I didn't think it was rape, is just because of the legal aspect of it. Like the fact that they probably signed. I'm sure they were signing papers over saying, "Hey, when we do this procedure, we're not liable for this, we're not liable for that, this, that, and the third. You giving me consent to do this type of
That's
thing, blah, blah,
true.
blah." And it's like, so when that legal part come in, it's like, damn. And we thinking, and this is think about it, this is Indiana, right? Like
Right.
it happened in Indiana, so you know, it's not a prominent state like that. You know what I'm saying? To be having like these big legislative like laws. So when you
Clearly.
clearly,
Clearly. Right.
that's what I'm saying. Even in like when he was doing this, I guarantee you he couldn't get away with this in like California or like
Oh
Florida.
no.
No, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
he in a small town. He like I can get away with this. They have their own ideologies and stuff like that, and all. They got it's only sticks around, so they got time to think about how to do things. And um, so legal wise, that's why I say legal wise, it wasn't because it wasn't, or it could be not considered rape. But just thinking off just watching it, oh yeah, it's definitely like a form of rape.
Right. I mean, I guess the woman didn't consent to his actions. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of like the fraud and the unethical nature of it that seems, you know,
And
that
I feel
is,
like
yeah.
I feel like the fraud part is only because of like the paperwork. You know what I'm saying? He said he was gonna do this, but then they found some like probable cause to acknowledge that. And that's how they figured it out. I'm trying not to say what I really want to say because we getting more into it. So
Yeah. And so, okay. So he's using his own sperm with these patients,
yeah.
and we just see, patient after patient go past him. He's their doctor that they've been using for years. You know what I mean? They have no reason to think that he would do anything that was not proper with them. So, for them to come to this realization at the end is quite shocking because they have so much belief and just good things to say about him. That's why it's just so shocking. But is there possibly another ulterior reason why he was determined to inseminate all of these patients? So the movie kind of brings up a few points. One is about a certain religion, and then a theory is kind of brought up. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention to see your thoughts on that. So this religion was called Quiverful, okay? And so this is a Christian Quiverful movement, and it's derived from Psalm 127, 3 through 5, where in that particular line where it says, or that verse rather, where many children are metaphorically referred to as the arrows in a full quiver. And there's a reoccurring theme that kind of ties into the religion piece, Jeremiah 1:5. This is a heavy theme. They really kind of, it's like on the wall in his office. It's everywhere, really. So before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Jeremiah 1:5. is this particular scripture that is apparently important to him. And like it's literally in the doctor's office on the wall. You know what I mean? So he wants people to know that this is important to him. He actually like quotes it when he's speaking with Jacoba and she's doing her investigation. So yeah, they really want you to know that that's important to him. And then they kind of really slide in the thought about replacement theory. It's not like a heavy theme, but this idea that that whites, the white European population, is being demographically and culturally replaced with non-whites, and that there's a need to increase the population. And so it, they kind of just slide that in there for you. So yeah, those some themes are in the film of possibly why he was trying to create these blonde haired, blue eyed children. And they even pick up on the theme. The children, like, what is he trying to do? Like, create all the blonde haired, blue eyed kids. They even say it themselves as the siblings sitting there. So, what did you thought about all those theories and what have you?
Yeah. So, if I had to go with, I guess if I had to pick which one, I probably would go with the quiver full movement more so
Yeah.
than the replacement theory, because I'm not putting that to the side now. That replacement theory is it's pretty hard body, especially with the article that you shared with me about the whole comparison to the shootings in Buffalo.
Right. That young man who committed that crime, who had that white supremacy type of mindset, shared those types of views on the replacement theory that the white race is suffering and needs to be, um, increased or what have you. There's even like certain networks that have hosts that talk about this replacement theory and things like that. So, one person who supports this theory may go and commit a violent crime like the Buffalo shooter. But, this other person here that feels like the white race is lacking may want to impregnate all these women. You know what I mean? But it's that the mindset is kind of the same, or is, right there, which is kind of sad.
So and that's why I'm kind of hung up on the replacement theory, because I'm like, okay, do y'all want to grow do y'all want to grow this, or do y'all want to decrease? And the way that I see how things rolling in my spirit, right? In my spirit, and how the climate is when it comes to us black folks, I feel like for you to do an act like the Buffalo shooting, it makes me think like, no, you just really want to decrease us. Because you can procreate all day,
Decrease black people, but not whites.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
like that's what I'm saying. That's humanity aspect. That's my humanity. I'm thinking about it. Like, why would you want to decrease somebody's? What I'm saying, somebody's um decrease a group of people when it's just easier to procreate, regardless if you got a situation or not. Like, if you feel like you want to have 15, 20 kids from one woman or whatever, knock yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Just don't bother us. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the motives on that is crazy. So my motives, I don't think I got enough motives from this situation for me to say, okay, this is a replacement theory type of thing. I feel like it's a, what is it word? It's a quiverful. I feel like it's more of a quiverful.
Religion, like build up our race type of thing. And then really along those lines, you could slide in the whole abortion being overturned. That's another tactic that's, it doesn't have anything to do with him as a person, but that's just that feeling is shared. Clearly, it's that thought process is shared. They don't want people or the white race to stop having children. They want more children because they want, because of replacement theory is at risk.
That's correct.
It's all related, really.
It's heavily related,
Mm-hmm.
but but I'd be wanting to think about a part of me in this movie, in this documentary. I was thinking like, what do they really feel like? They don't even have any philosophies to like truly go off of.
Hmm.
Like, when you notice at the end of it, they started talking about like the hereditary aspects that was passed down from him to them. Like that
Yeah.
that shit is crazy, yo. Like, like you know, for them to be born with these type of ailments, and you know, it's not even tied to their real mom. It's tied to a dad that felt like they. It's just so it just that's crazy how they could just walk around and they don't have any like identity to be like, okay, let
Yes.
me let me even think about, let me think this way, or even just identity about themselves. And I mean, we being candid right now, or just we
Mhm.
really having a discussion, but like it sucks, but it would be a little bit easier if they would do it that way versus like going off killing a gang of, you know what I'm saying, black people.
Yeah. Innocent people. Yeah.
So, like, yeah. So that's why, like I said again, the race theory, the replacement theory it's heavy. Even with you throwing up the abortion aspect, that makes
Yeah.
it more heavy.
Hmm.
That makes that thought process a little
Well,
wider.
yeah, I feel like a lot of those people that made that vote and they swayed it way to that side, they don't want that. I mean, aside from, I feel like a lot of them, especially the women, have religious views that, spoke to why they made that vote. But
Mhm.
it's not hard to believe that some of them don't have that mindset in their mind that, hey, we need to protect this white race. I feel like that. I feel like that's not hard to believe.
Yeah, and that type of ideology is like everywhere, but
Mhm.
to me, I feel like it's very strong in the Midwest. If you notice, there was a lot
Mm.
of that stuff going on in Kansas City, boy, and it was just like it was like,
Hello, Missouri. Hello.
you know what I'm saying,
Right
like,
here.
you know what I'm saying. I mean,
Right here.
even here in the South, I'm
Yeah.
in Florida. I mean, you know, it still exists, but it's still all about palm trees and alligators around here. But it's like the Midwest is like, for some reason, there's just a very strong presence of these type of ideologies, man, and those philosophies and all that. So
Right. And it's just sad. I feel like he picked them to do this to because, oh, well, they're using a sperm donor. They don't have any identity anyway. So either they're not going to know and I can get away with this, or, who cares? I feel like that's how he probably just shrugged it off. They're
yeah,
not supposed to have identity having a donor,
right, right.
We're
It's
just
definitely,
taking advantage.
yeah. I'm about to say advantage, power. I mean, it all goes back to that for sure.
Hmm.
But it's like now you got all these kids, and you know what I'm saying. Just think about if they didn't find out about this. You know what I'm saying? What if they just continued life and nobody was like, "Oh, let me
Oh,
just take
yeah.
this test." Like, like the population would be, and a lot of these people had got kids and grandkids.
Yes. And I think one of the shocking, or one of the last women spoke of in the film, it's not clearly stated because I actually had a discussion group with a bunch of ladies, and it wasn't clear to a lot of them that it was suggested strongly that she was one of his offspring and he used his specimen on her. Did you catch that?
I did.
See, and it wasn't like explicitly said, but I was like, I had to rewind that back. Like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, yeah.
How could he?
He definitely came off like that. Like when they, like you said, it was the meeting that they had. I think that was
Yeah,
like the first meeting that they had. He definitely came off like that. I mean, then he had like a book or something that he was like writing. Like it was like he was writing
yes,
checkpoints. I'm like, what? Like is he like these your kids, homie? Why you treating this like
science
a case
class right
study?
there. Yeah, exactly. A case study.
Yeah. You made it. I mean, I know you about to move forward, but that you made like now I want to watch it again because
Hmm.
now you brought up the whole like abortion aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, no,
Yeah.
and it just made, yeah, it's
And that wasn't even like a thing at the time, but
no,
I totally see a relation to that.
Oh, it's
Um,
absolutely a relation to that.
yeah.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And of course they went. I mean, obviously they was doing this. They weren't knowing nothing about abortion. So wow.
And it's just so bizarre. In the beginning, he was so worried about his wife finding out. And, and this is like, how she's going to find out. But, she wasn't going anywhere either. So, you
Right,
know,
right. Interesting.
he just, yeah, it's just like things that happen like in small towns, like you say. It's just really, yeah,
And these
interesting.
and these things are like that's crazy how these philosophies and theories and stuff are being taught to this day. You know what I'm saying? In these establishments and it also sucks that people unfortunately put people on pedestals. You know what I'm saying? Like they put this guy
Yes.
on like that's why I say all of this is intentional because I'm sure he was like, well, let me become on this hierarchy of you know what I'm saying, and be able to do this devil or do in his words do God's work.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying? And
mhm.
I think that's unfortunate for him to go into like any type of house of the Lord or whatever you serve or whatever and become this regal person, and then you commit these untouchable acts, which I guess they're working on it now as we speak. But yeah,
Right.
that's very selfish, man. Self-centered, like it's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, totally. I mean, as far as crimes, they, weren't able to well, we don't want to give everything away, but I mean, he got a very light slap on the wrist, I guess we could call it, um, at the minimum in this case. So,
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm we have a discussion, and I don't, yeah, I don't want to say too much, but for my people that's listening, please go watch it.
yeah, it's very interesting.
And please come back and tell us you watched it so we can have that real conversation.
Yeah, I had a discussion group with some ladies and that was really interesting. And so I just really wanted to go through it on a one-on-one with somebody. So I'm glad you were able to do that. So thanks, Al.
Nah, no problem. I mean, yeah, this is good. Cause I'm telling you that abortion situation got me wanting to go back to it. Like,
Hmm.
watch this thing, man. You know what I'm saying? So I could just think about the theories and the thought processes of like how everything was broken down and how it was done. So
Right. There's some other little things they kind of slid in there real quick, like one of the attorneys or something. It was kind of suggested that he might be associated with the religion. So that was kind of like a protection or, um, you know, and he even shut down the producers of the film, and it was almost like with certain questions being asked of him, so it's just like, what's going on here? So it's a lot of things going on, which shows you that even in a small town, there's some little power trips, clearly, or power movement going on. So yeah, it's really interesting actually.
yeah, I mean, think about the fact that what he was doing. I think they said that the practices that he was doing, like the actual practice of like giving these women hope to have kids, like I don't think nobody was doing that.
Right.
So he was like the primary person to be doing it. And then you have it's like the couple that was in the it was a couple and then or it might have been separate, but it seemed like it was a couple and then it was like a guy and then a lady talking. And it seemed like that they worked with him at like his practice. So
Oh yeah, they had worked with him for years. That's yeah.
now
Yeah.
do you think they didn't know about this stuff or
Somebody had to know. But it happened to them even. So and I guess it's like I don't know. He couldn't have been that good to keep everything. Like I feel like somebody might have seen him coming out of another
I'm gonna say
room.
yeah, it had to be like a slip up or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like somebody walked in the room and was like, there's no specimens here. Where's he getting them from? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Or where's the name? You know what I'm
you
saying?
know what
Where's the label?
I'm saying?
Like, where's the label?
Right. You got a bunch of K's up here, but where the L's? We're looking for it. It's just
Yeah,
like it
something.
was too technical for him to be going like that, and then people around him didn't know what was going on. And even with that, even if they knew or not, he already had those people close to him already wrapped up on, already
Exactly.
brainwashed. And then you got a whole community, and then you got these, you got this one woman like, oh, it worked for me, and then it just trickles down to all these other. It's crazy to me. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. And this
I'm sorry. I have one more thing. I have one more thing.
yeah.
So I felt so bad for like the fathers in this movie.
Mhm.
Be
Mhm.
told that that's not your kid. Oh my goodness! Like, could you like just think about like all the like marriages that was like put in jeopardy because of this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's without a doubt. Dr. Klein
Yes.
did like everything. Like he was negative all the way from the top to like from the governing aspect of it just to the morals of it, and like
Yeah.
and had no shame. And then for you to sit there and say, I don't want my wife to know, don't go to the man, please.
Right. Like that's the least of the you need to be worried about jail time or something
Absolutely.
and
Like,
getting your law license taken away, which I think but I mean he probably was almost ready to retire at this stage of his life anyway, but
yeah.
it might still be a shameful thing to have your law or not your law license, your medical license. I said law license. Oh
Right.
man, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Just very unethical though. So it just
Really.
makes you want to have like a closer eye. If something doesn't seem right, ask questions.
I'm gonna be following this. Like, it's just one of them stories where you have to follow what's her name? Ballot, the one that really started everything.
Oh,
Like,
Jacoba, yeah, because they
yeah,
went on to Dr.
I'm gonna be following.
Phil.
I'm gonna be following her
Mhm.
for the rest of my life. Like, she's gonna
Bless
be
her
one of those
heart.
stories. Yeah, that's
She
unfortunate.
really did her homework. I mean, she had everything on the wall, just like, a crime investigator, detective would, but she really almost had to keep everything straight.
Right, right.
And, after this aired, two of the women who are siblings of or offspring filed suit against Netflix because they allege that their identity was revealed and they did not give consent for that. I guess like some of the siblings agreed to be shown or have their name used, and some of them didn't. And I can imagine not wanting to, have that air because it's probably embarrassing.
But at the same time, too, how would Netflix know? I mean, they figure it. I'm sure they probably started off with this when they started doing this. Whoever gave consent to to do this. I mean, hypothetically speaking, I'm thinking they probably only had like 20 siblings. But as they were
Mhm.
shooting, they probably found, oh, it's 30, or it's 40, or it's 50. And then,
Mhm.
I think the momentum just was like, let me hit this person up, that person up. You know what I'm saying? Especially in these vulnerable moments. Some of these
Yeah,
interviews that they was having, it seemed like these people had just found out like yesterday.
right. And yeah, to capture that reaction,
You know
that
what I'm saying? So to get that reaction, like it just seemed like the I don't know. Well, outside of everything, the unfortunate, the documentary was shot very well, and the story was
really for sure.
like put together great. But I do feel like it was a wow factor in doing this documentary. Like I'll be surprised if they start off knowing that it was that amount of people. I don't want to say the amount because people got to watch it, but when they didn't start the movie off with like, okay, this is that amount of people. Let's start from the beginning. I'm sure they probably figured out. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably they probably was like,
Mhm.
that's number.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's so and so and so and so over there. Oh, let's go over there. Let's go. It's like putting the pieces together. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard for Netflix not to have done that if they didn't know if everybody was there.
Right. I mean, people could have said, you know what, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this. Don't put my name on it. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been something like that. Or maybe a producer didn't,
Right,
check
right.
something out. Who knows? But yeah,
I mean,
that's
what would you do if that was a situation like that? If somebody knocked on your door and was like, hey, you got like 18 other siblings, and you like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like the camera
yeah,
comes to your face, like, boo. You just gonna talk because you just like, I don't know what's going on.
right. I wouldn't want to be in a movie about it, probably, but I would want to know, probably. But yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it is. So, do you feel like they received closure based on the way that it ended?
Um, individually, probably some of them
Hmm.
probably got the closure that they needed, but for them to have that amount of siblings, it's going to be difficult to really have a closing on that because you just don't know if it's going to be if it's more. Like,
Right.
you don't know if it's more or not. So it's always that. And then you got to think about the fact that these kids have, got married. They had kids, they kids having kids. So
Right.
it's like this ongoing thing that's happening. So it's going to be difficult for them to have like this closure.
Right.
Um,
And I think, maybe in particular, Jacoba wanted to know, like, why? Why did you do this? And he didn't really have a great answer for them. So I think that she might not have been satisfied. And I think she wanted to see him behind bars too. You know what I mean? I don't know that she got that satisfaction in what ended up happening to him from a legal standpoint. So, yeah, I don't think anybody was happy, but I mean,
yeah, I don't know about that closures. Like I said, some people, but that's a to each his own type of
mhm.
gesture or whatever. Because some people are humane like that, but then other people are like, well, what about me? And they focus on me. So rightfully so in a situation like you can only deal with the situation that you're in. But if I had a dad and I got X amount of other siblings, it's gonna be hard for me to close that chapter because now you got to talk to these people, develop relationships if you want to develop these relationships, and y'all have the same common feeling about the dad, and
Mhm, mhm.
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, and I'm sure
It's a
some of
lot.
them probably slammed the door or hung the phone up in her face, and,
Right,
you
right.
know, we might won't hear about those, but I'm sure some people get off my phone with that.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Right. It's very unfortunate. Jesus.
it is.
Whew.
And it's sad that he just manipulated all of these lives, from one person. It just doesn't seem right
Yeah.
or doesn't seem fair. Definitely doesn't seem fair.
Right, right.
So
Yeesh.
yeah, we'll have to do some more of these deep dives. Yeah, this was good.
You know what? We probably would have deep dived a lot more if we didn't want if people if we didn't want to spoil it, if that's the case. Like,
Yeah.
but if it was like a thing where we can spoil it, oh man, we'll be on here digging deeper because it was some things that was said that I'm like, if I say it, it's gonna lead to what I'm saying
Well,
the
no, I've already said too much, but yeah.
yeah. But this is definitely a great breakdown. Definitely got my mind moving on that.
Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for more, guys. We'll have to do this
Indeed.
again.
Yen's gonna give me another. Well, matter of fact, you probably gonna give me another assignment. I just gotta remember what it is. But I got a couple of shows I gotta watch. But as soon as I watch them, we're gonna be back on this thing talking for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll resend you that list so you can get on task.
Yes,
And
man.
please tell us where people can find you on your content.
Okay, so you can start at MrAlpete.com, MRALPETE.com. That's my page where I got my music, podcasts, other stuff, blah, 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 blah. But like Mr. Peterson's Neighborhood, you can go to MPN-LLC.com, check that out. On Instagram, you can follow me, Mr. Al Pete, and MPN Management. And yeah, if you go to the websites, they'll take you everywhere you need to go. So start from that, and they'll roll on
Okay.
to that.
Okay, great. So I'll have that included in the show notes as well. And if you're looking at on YouTube, you can see it is listed there. So you can
Beautiful
check.
stuff down there. Look at it. It's all fancy. Woo!
Yeah, try to do a little something.
Yeah.
So yeah, check them out on Instagram and all those things. A lot of great content out there. So we will be checking you out. There.
Indeed.
Anything else to share, Mr. Alpete?
Nah, that's it. This was a great discussion. Thoroughly enjoy these conversations. We're gonna have more. Oh yeah, real quick. I love the intro that you have. The intro is very dope.
Oh, thanks.
Very dope. Yeah. So and shouts out to you for being just a great person in the space, in the podcasting space, the media space, because you do a lot of very great research, and you're doing it for a great purpose. So shouts out to you on that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And shout out to the Drippin' in Black Productions for my intro. They produced it. Yeah. So, S Squared Productions,
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, that sounds great. And again, we thank you, Al. We'll be checking out everything, and good luck on some shows you have upcoming.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a couple of shows I got, so I'm thankful for it. But I greatly appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, we thank you guys for checking us out, and we appreciate all the support. And we'll go to the outro. Thanks, guys. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out, and also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening, and take care.